"Mom, my wife is getting discharged from the hospital and coming here. She and the baby are going to live here. I've already decided." Liam's words exploded in my living room like a bomb. My son was standing in front of me, surrounded by suitcases, boxes, and a disassembled crib, right inside my own apartment, the apartment I paid for with 30 years of my life, announcing that he was taking my home away from me. He didn't ask, he didn't consult me, he just decided. And when I saw that defiant look in his eyes, that absolute certainty that I wouldn't do anything to stop him, something inside me broke. But something also woke up, something they never imagined I had. And what I did in response sent my son, his wife Ashley, her mother Barbara, and Ashley's brother running out of here terrified, shouting threats they could never follow through on. But to understand how I reached that moment, how a 65-year-old mother came to kick her own son out of the house, I need to tell you everything from the beginning. Because this story didn't start that day. It started much earlier, when I opened my door and let the snake in. 6 weeks ago, my life was different, quiet. I'm Linda. I'm 65 years old. I've been a widow for 8 years, and this 3-bedroom condo is the only thing I have in this world. I worked like a dog to get it. 30 years in a textile factory during the day, cleaning offices at night, sacrificing everything to give my son Liam a future and to have a roof of my own over my head. I paid for every tile on this floor with my cracked hands. I raised every wall with my sweat. 3 years ago, I finished paying off the mortgage, and I cried that day because it was finally mine, completely mine. Nobody could take it away from me, or so I believed with all my soul. Liam was always a good son, responsible, hardworking, affectionate. After his father died, he became my rock. He got a job at my brother Mike's company. He was making good money. He was independent. When he told me 2 years ago that he had met a girl, I was thrilled. "Mom, her name is Ashley. She's amazing. You're going to love her," he told me with those bright, love-struck eyes. And when I met her, I understood why Liam was fascinated. Ashley was beautiful, 28 years old, long dark hair, perfect smile, always well-dressed, polite at least on the surface. But there was something about the way she looked at me that made me uncomfortable, as if she were appraising me, measuring my worth. The first time she came to my apartment, she stood in the entryway looking at every corner with a strange intensity. "How big is this, Linda?" she exclaimed, walking through the living room, touching the curtains, observing the furniture. 3 bedrooms, 2 full baths, spacious kitchen. "This is a luxury for a single person." She said it smiling, but I felt a chill. It wasn't a compliment, it was an observation, an appraisal. "Yes, it's comfortable," I replied, trying to sound natural. Ashley sat on my sofa and crossed her legs, looking at me with those calculating eyes. "You must feel lonely here, right? So much empty space. You could rent out a room, make a few extra bucks. Rents are through the roof right now." Liam laughed nervously. "Ashley, my mom doesn't need to rent anything out." But she didn't stop looking at me, waiting for my answer. "I like my privacy," I said firmly. Something crossed her face, irritation, annoyance. But it disappeared so quickly, I thought I had imagined it. Sure. It was just a suggestion," she replied with that smile that didn't reach her eyes. After that, Ashley started visiting often. Too often. Sometimes with Liam, sometimes alone. She always found something to criticize. "These curtains are really worn out, Linda. This sofa takes up too much space. You should get something more modern. The kitchen needs a complete renovation. It's very outdated." I would smile and nod, but inside I was beginning to feel invaded, that my space, my sanctuary, was being attacked softly, silently. When Liam and Ashley got engaged, things got worse. Ashley started bringing her mother, Barbara, a 50-year-old woman with unbearable delusions of grandeur. The first time I met her, she looked me up and down as if I were trash. "So you're Liam's mother," she said without even shaking my hand. "Ashley has told me a lot about you." The tone made it clear that nothing she had heard was good. She sat in my living room and began to criticize every detail of my apartment as if she were a building inspector. "This painting is depressing," she said, pointing to the photograph of my late husband. "You should take down those sad things. People need positive energy." I clenched my fists under the table. "That is my husband," I said with a trembling voice. Barbara looked at me with indifference. Exactly. Dead husband. Past. You need to reinvent yourself, Linda. Ashley smiled, approving every word from her mother. Liam said nothing. He just looked down like a scolded child. It was the first time I felt real fear. Not of Barbara or Ashley, but of what Liam was becoming beside them, a stranger. The wedding was 4 months ago. I contributed $3,000 from my savings, money I had set aside for emergencies, for my old age, to feel safe. But Liam asked me for it with such desperation that I couldn't refuse. Mom, Ashley wants a beautiful wedding, and I don't have enough. Please. Ashley wanted luxury everything. An ivory dress imported that cost $2,000, an elegant venue, exotic flowers, a banquet for 150 people. Liam looked overwhelmed, stressed, but Ashley got everything she wanted. Always. At the wedding, I also met Kyle, Ashley's younger brother. 25 years old, unemployed, living off Barbara's money. An arrogant kid who spent the whole night drinking and making nasty comments. Your son caught a big fish, he told me, with alcohol on his breath. Ashley could have done better, but hey, I guess she likes him. I wanted to slap him, but I held back. After the wedding, Ashley changed completely. She didn't pretend anymore. She started arriving at my apartment without calling, using a key that Liam had given her without my permission. I would find her reorganizing my things, moving my furniture, going through my closets. One day I came home from the grocery store, and Ashley was in my kitchen, taking out all my dishes. What are you doing? I asked, dropping the grocery bags on the floor. Ashley didn't even turn around. She kept taking out my plates, my cups, everything I had organized for years. I'm helping you, Linda. This was a mess. I don't know how you find things here. Her tone was condescending, as if she were speaking to a dumb child. I felt my blood boil. Ashley, that is my kitchen. I know perfectly well where everything is. She finally looked at me, with that cold smile I was starting to know too well. Oh, don't be so territorial. I'm just trying to make this look better. Besides, when we come over to eat, I need to know where things are. When we come over to eat, as if my house were a restaurant they could enter whenever they wanted. I tried to talk to Liam that night. Son, I need you to talk to Ashley. She can't keep coming over without calling and changing my things. Liam sighed as if I were an exhausting problem. Mom, Ashley just wants to help you. She says the house is very neglected. My eyes filled with tears. Neglected? I work every day cleaning every corner of this place. Liam put a hand on my shoulder patronizingly. I know, Mom, but you're 65. It's normal that you can't keep everything up like before. Ashley has good intentions. Good intentions. Those words became the mantra Liam repeated to justify every abuse, every invasion, every lack of respect. The visits became more frequent and longer. Ashley would arrive with Barbara, and they would stay for hours. They sat in my living room like queens in their palace, criticizing everything. This TV is too old, Linda. You should buy a new one. That lamp is hideous. It looks like it belongs in a nursing home. The bathroom needs an urgent remodel. The tiles are out of style. I seethed inside, but I kept my composure. I didn't want to fight. I didn't want to be the bitter mother-in-law, the problematic mother. I thought if I was patient, if I gave them time, things would improve. How stupid I was. Kyle started showing up too. At first he came with Ashley and Barbara, but then he started coming alone. Hey, Linda, just passing by, he'd say, walking in without waiting for an invitation. He would throw himself on my sofa, put his feet on my coffee table, grab food from my refrigerator without asking. Don't you have any beer? You should buy some, he told me while chewing my cookies. One time I found him asleep in the guest room. When I woke him up, he looked annoyed. Relax, I just fell asleep watching TV. But I didn't have a TV in that room. He had gone in, gotten into my bed, and acted like I was the crazy one for bothering him. I tried to talk to Liam again. Your brother-in-law is coming over too often. He acts like he lives here. Liam got angry. He's my wife's brother, Mom. What do you want? For me to treat him badly? It's already hard enough for Ashley to have such a complicated mother-in-law. I froze. Complicated? I am complicated because I don't want a stranger walking into my house whenever he wants. Liam stood up, furious. See? Always exaggerating everything. Ashley is right. You're very territorial. This house is too big for you alone anyway." And he left, slamming the door. I cried all that night. My son, the boy I raised alone after becoming a widow, was calling me complicated for defending my space. The boy for whom I worked until I destroyed my health was telling me my house was too much for me. I started to feel like I was losing not just my home, but also my son. Things reached another level when Ashley announced her pregnancy. It was 3 months ago. Liam arrived beaming to tell me, "Mom, you're going to be a grandma. Ashley is pregnant." I should have felt joy, but I only felt terror, because I saw in Ashley's eyes, who was standing behind Liam with that victorious smile, that this was part of a plan. "We are very excited," Ashley said, caressing her still flat belly. "Although we'll need a lot of space. Babies come with so many things." She looked directly at me. "I guess you're going to have to get used to more visits, Linda. A grandmother must be available to help." From that day on, the invasion became total. Ashley started bringing things and leaving them in my apartment. "It's just that in our apartment we don't have space," she explained, leaving boxes in my guest room. First, it was maternity clothes, then baby products, then small furniture. My guest room became her personal storage unit. When I protested, Barbara yelled at me, "It's your grandson. What kind of grandmother doesn't want to help?" Liam just looked at the floor, never defending me. Ashley started arriving and staying for entire days. "I'm very tired from the pregnancy. I need to rest here because your house is cooler than mine." She would get into my bed, in my bedroom, and sleep for hours. I had to tiptoe around my own house so as not to disturb the pregnant woman. Barbara would arrive to prepare special food for her in my kitchen, using my ingredients, and then they would leave me all the dirty dishes. "Linda, wash this, okay? Ashley needs to rest and I have to go." It wasn't a request. It was an order. I tried to set boundaries. "Ashley, I appreciate that you're pregnant, but I need you to let me know before coming over. This is still my house." She looked at me with scorn. "Linda, I'm carrying your grandson. Are you really going to be that selfish?" "Liam, did you hear your mother?" Liam, who was there, looked at me with disappointment. "Mom, seriously? Ashley is pregnant and you're worrying about nonsense." Nonsense. My privacy, my space, my peace of mind were nonsense. Kyle started staying over to sleep. "It's just that I have issues with my roommate," he explained, throwing himself on the sofa with his dirty shoes. He would stay 2, 3, 4 days. He ate everything in my fridge. He left his clothes thrown all over the living room. He used my bathroom and left it filthy. One morning I found him in his underwear walking through my house as if it were his own. "Could you put some clothes on?" I asked, indignant. He laughed. "Relax, old lady. It's no big deal." I told my sister everything over the phone, crying. "Linda, you have to put a stop to this now. Those people are trampling all over you," she told me. But I was afraid. Afraid of losing Liam. Afraid of not meeting my grandson. Afraid of being left completely alone. So I kept enduring it, believing that after the birth, everything would calm down. How naive I was. Things didn't calm down. They became a nightmare. 3 weeks ago, I found Ashley measuring my master bedroom with a tape measure. "What are you doing?" I asked, standing in the doorway of my room. Ashley was measuring the walls, writing down numbers on her phone. She turned around with that smile that already made me nauseous. "I'm seeing if a crib fits here. This room is perfect for the baby. It has good light. It's spacious." I felt as if I had been punched in the stomach. "Ashley, this is my room." She stopped smiling. "Linda, let's be realistic. You don't need so much space. You could move to the small room in the back. The baby needs a proper environment." She wasn't suggesting. She was informing me of a decision already made. "This is my house, my bedroom." I yelled with a desperation that surprised even me. Ashley put away her tape measure with slow, calculated movements. "Look, Linda, I don't want to fight with you. But this baby is the priority now. If you really love your grandson, you'll do what's best for him. Or are you so selfish that you prefer your comfort over that of a helpless baby?" Every word was a perfectly dosed poison. She was turning me into the villain of my own story. I called Liam crying. "Your wife wants to take my bedroom. She says the baby needs that space. Liam, it's my house." There was a long silence on the other end. Too long. "Mom, Are you seriously going to do this? Ashley is only thinking about our son. If she thinks that room is better, maybe you should consider. I didn't let him finish. I hung up. My own son was asking me to give up my bedroom, my most intimate space, the place where I slept with his father for years, where I cried over his death, where I rebuilt my life. And he was asking as if it were something reasonable. I couldn't sleep that night. I lay there staring at the ceiling of my room, wondering how I had gotten here, how I had allowed these people to take total control of my life. I heard a noise in the living room. I got up and found Kyle sleeping on my sofa again. There were empty beer bottles on my table. The TV was on at full volume. It smelled like alcohol and stale food. I turned off the TV and he didn't even move. I picked up the bottles with hands shaking from rage and helplessness. The next day, Ashley arrived early. Too early. It was 7 in the morning. She brought Barbara and a man I didn't know. This is Julian, an interior decorator. We're going to see how to redistribute the spaces for when the baby arrives. She walked in without even saying hello. This Julian guy started taking pictures of every corner of my apartment, making comments to Barbara about what to change, what to throw out, what to update. I was in my pajamas, hair messy, feeling like an intruder in my own home. Definitely this piece has to go, Julian said, pointing to the sideboard that had belonged to my mother. It's very outdated, takes up too much space. Barbara nodded. Yes, we have to modernize all of this. It looks like an old lady's house. She said it looking directly at me. Ashley laughed. I wanted to scream. I wanted to throw them all out, but I stood paralyzed, frozen by fear and disbelief. Linda, could you make us some coffee? Ashley asked, sitting on my sofa like a queen on her throne. It wasn't a question, it was an order. I went to the kitchen with tears falling down my cheeks while I listened to them planning to destroy my home. They talked about changing the floors, painting the walls more cheerful colors, throwing out my old and depressing furniture. They talked about my life as if it were trash that needed to be eliminated. When I brought them the coffee, Julian was showing Ashley something on his tablet. With these changes, the apartment would be worth about $400,000 on the market. It's a good investment. Ashley smiled. Well, eventually it will be ours anyway. She said it with such naturalness, such assurance, that I felt pure terror. They were planning to keep my apartment. Not just invade it, keep it. That afternoon, when everyone left, I checked my documents, deeds, will, everything. I needed to make sure everything was in order, that legally no one could take what was mine. But fear gnawed at me. What if they found a way? What if Liam, as my only child, had some right? I didn't know anything about laws, and that terrified me. Ashley started arriving more frequently, always accompanied. She never came alone. She always brought Barbara, or Kyle, or both, as if she wanted witnesses to my submission. One day she arrived with boxes of baby clothes. I'm going to store this in your closet, Linda. You already started clearing space, right? I hadn't cleared anything. Ashley, I didn't. She interrupted me. Oh, Linda, don't be difficult. The baby arrives in 6 weeks. We need to organize everything now. 6 weeks. I had 6 weeks before the baby arrived, and my life turned into a total hell, because I knew, with a certainty that chilled my blood, that once that baby was born, Ashley would use every cry, every need, every moment as an excuse to take absolute control. And Liam would support her, and I would be trapped. Because how was I going to refuse to help with my own grandson? One night, 2 weeks later, Liam arrived with news. Mom, we need to talk. He sat on the sofa with that serious expression that made me tremble. Ashley and I have been talking. Our apartment is very small for a baby. Barely 400 square feet. There's no space for anything. I waited, feeling something terrible coming. We were looking at options, but rents are impossible. $2,500 a month for something decent. We can't afford it. I swallowed hard. And what are you going to do? Liam didn't look me in the eye. Well, we thought that, temporarily, we could stay here, just until our financial situation improves. 6 months, a year maximum. I felt the world stop. Stay here? The 3 of you? Liam finally looked at me. Well, yes, you have 3 bedrooms. We would use 2, and you would keep yours. It's a perfect solution. That way, Plus, you help us with the baby. Liam, I need my space, my privacy. My voice sounded weak, defeated. He sighed, frustrated. Mom, we are your family. What is more important, your privacy or your grandson? Ashley says that if you really loved us, you wouldn't hesitate to help us. Ashley says. Everything Liam thought now came from Ashley. My son had disappeared, replaced by a puppet. Let me think about it, I said, although we both knew it wasn't really a choice. Liam stood up. There isn't much to think about, Mom. Ashley is due in 4 weeks. We need to decide now. And he left, leaving me alone with my terror and my helplessness. I called my sister again. Linda, you have to say no. Firmly. If you let them in, they will never leave. But I didn't know how to refuse without losing my son forever. 2 days later, Ashley arrived without calling. This time she brought a key. I heard the door opening while I was in the shower. My heart stopped. I turned off the water, wrapped myself in a towel, and ran out. Ashley was in my living room, hanging up her coat as if she lived there. How did you get in? I asked with a trembling voice, clutching my towel. She pulled a key out of her purse. Liam gave me a copy. I need to be able to get in whenever I want, especially now that I'm so pregnant. What if something happens to me and I can't wait for you to open the door? Her logic was twisted, but she said it with such confidence that it almost sounded reasonable. Almost. Liam had no right to give you a key without consulting me. This is my house. Ashley sat heavily on the sofa, putting her feet on my coffee table. Linda, get over it. In 4 weeks we're going to be living here anyway. What difference does a key make? The difference was everything. It was the last frontier between invasion and my total surrender. I went to my room to get dressed, and when I came back, Ashley was talking on the phone. Yes, Mom, I'm inside. Yes, she still has all 3 rooms free. No, she hasn't moved anything. You know how old people are, clinging to their things. She was talking about me as if I weren't there, as if I were just another piece of furniture, an obstacle to get around. She ended the call and looked at me. Barbara is coming tomorrow with a friend who sells baby furniture. We need to see what fits in the master bedroom. She didn't even pretend anymore. She was already talking about my room as if it were the baby's. Ashley, I already told you I am not giving up my room. She laughed, a cruel laugh, mocking. Oh, Linda, you still think you have a say in this. How cute. She stood up with difficulty and walked toward the kitchen. She opened my refrigerator and started taking things out. There is nothing healthy here. I'm going to have to bring my own stuff. And you need to buy a water purifier. Tap water isn't good for the baby. She was making a list of demands, of changes I had to make in my house to accommodate them. I felt the rage boiling, but I also felt something else. Fear. A deep fear that if I confronted her, I would lose Liam forever. Ashley stayed 3 hours that day. 3 hours measuring, moving, deciding. When she finally left, she left me a list written on a sheet from my own notebook. Things to buy before we arrive. I read the list with trembling hands. Diapers, wipes, bottles, sterilizer, changing table, dim night light, humidifier, digital thermometer, baby bathtub, and at the end, in capital letters, vacate master bedroom before the 15th. It was 3 weeks until the 15th. I couldn't eat that night. I sat in my room, looking at every object I had accumulated over years. The dresser where I kept my late husband's clothes, the photographs on the wall, my bed where I had slept for 15 years. Was I really going to allow them to strip me of all this? But every time I thought about refusing, I saw Liam's face. My only son, my only family, and the terror of loneliness paralyzed me. The next day, Barbara arrived early with a woman named Jessica who sold children's furniture. They didn't ring the doorbell. They entered with the key Ashley had. I was eating breakfast when I heard them. "Good morning, Linda." Barbara yelled with that fake joy she used to disguise her venom. "We came to take measurements. Jessica needs to know exactly the available space." Jessica barely greeted me and followed Barbara directly to my bedroom. I followed them. They entered without taking off their shoes, trampling my light carpet with their dirty boots. Jessica took out a tape measure and started measuring while Barbara moved my things. "This vanity can go. The baby's dresser goes perfectly here," Barbara said of the vanity that had belonged to my mother. "Don't touch that," I yelled. Barbara turned around with an offended expression. "Oh, Linda, don't be so dramatic. It's just old furniture. The baby needs new, functional things." Jessica showed pictures on her tablet. "This is the best-selling crib. It costs $800. Then there's the dresser changing table, $450. The organizer wardrobe, $300. The rocking chair, $600. She kept adding it up while I felt like I was drowning. More than $2,000 in furniture for a room they hadn't even asked permission to use. "Obviously, you are going to help with these expenses, right, Linda?" Barbara said. "It wasn't a question. You're the grandmother. It's your responsibility." "I already helped with $3,000 for the wedding," I said with a trembling voice. Barbara snorted. "That was months ago. This is different. This is your grandson. Or do you not care?" Always the same manipulation. Always questioning my love, my commitment, making any boundary I tried to set seem like monstrous selfishness. Jessica kept showing things on her tablet, oblivious to the tension, only interested in the sale. With the complete package, including decoration and accessories, we'd be talking about some $4,500. $4,500. Almost all my savings. The money I had saved for emergencies, for my old age, to feel safe. And these women were talking about spending it as if it were their right. "I need to think about it," I said weakly. Barbara and Jessica exchanged looks. "There isn't much to think about, Linda. The baby arrives in 3 weeks. Furniture takes 2 weeks to deliver. Either you decide today, or the baby will arrive with nothing prepared. Do you want that?" I left them talking and walked out of my own bedroom. I sat in the kitchen with my hands on my face, trying not to cry. I heard their voices discussing colors, styles, accessories, planning the complete transformation of my most intimate space without my opinion mattering in the slightest. When they finally left, 2 hours later, Jessica left me a printed quote. "Think about it, Mrs. Linda. But don't take too long. This furniture sells out fast." That afternoon, Liam called me. "Mom, Barbara told me you were being very difficult about the furniture issue." He didn't even ask for my side. He had already decided I was the problem. "Liam, they are talking about spending almost $5,000 of my money without even asking me." Silence. Then, with a tired voice, "Mom, if you don't want to help, just say so. But don't pretend you care about us when clearly your money is more important than your grandson." He hung up. I let myself fall onto the sofa and cried like I hadn't cried since my husband died. I cried for my lost son, for my invaded home, for my trampled dignity. I cried because I felt trapped in a nightmare from which I couldn't wake up. And I cried because a part of me knew that if I didn't do something drastic soon, I would lose everything. The next day, Kyle showed up with 2 friends. They entered laughing, carrying cases of beer. "Hey, Linda, we're going to watch the game here. Your TV is bigger." They didn't ask for permission. They just invaded. They took over my living room, turned up the volume, yelled and drank for hours. When I asked them to turn down the volume, Kyle ignored me completely. His friends looked at me with mockery. I was invisible in my own house. When they finally left, at 2 in the morning, they left everything a mess. Bottles everywhere, spilled food, my sofa stained. I cleaned crying, feeling like I had hit rock bottom. But I hadn't hit rock bottom yet. The worst was yet to come. A week ago, Ashley went into labor. Liam called me frantic. "Mom, Ashley is in labor. We're on our way to the hospital." All my rage, all my resentment evaporated. It was my grandson being born. "I'm on my way," I said. In the hospital, everything changed. I saw the true face of these people. I arrived at the hospital running, heart racing. Despite everything that had happened, it was my grandson being born. I found Liam in the waiting room, pale, nervous. "How is Ashley?" I asked, hugging him. He returned the hug quickly and pulled away. "She's in labor. Barbara is in there with her." I froze. "Barbara is inside and I'm out here?" Liam avoided my gaze. Ashley wanted her mom to be present. "It's her first birth. She needs her mother." His words were like knives. I was a mother too. I was family too. But I had been excluded from the most important moment. I sat in an uncomfortable plastic chair, staring at the closed door of the delivery room, feeling like a stranger. Kyle arrived half an hour later with coffee for himself and for Liam. He didn't offer me anything. He didn't even say hello. He sat next to Liam, and they started talking as if I didn't exist. 4 hours passed. 4 eternal hours where I heard Kyle and Liam making plans about when we all lived together. They talked about turning my living room into a play space, changing the entire decor, making improvements that I would have to pay for. They talked about my apartment as if it were already theirs. I clenched my hands in my lap, feeling rage and helplessness fighting inside me. Finally, Barbara came out. She had a huge smile. "It's a boy, beautiful and healthy." Liam shouted with joy and hugged Barbara. I stood up with tears in my eyes. "Can I see them?" Barbara looked at me coldly. "Ashley is very tired. She needs to rest. Better wait a little." I stood there, humiliated, while Barbara and Liam went in to meet the baby, and I, the grandmother, stayed outside like a worthless dog. I waited another hour. When they finally let me in, Ashley was in the bed with the baby in her arms. Barbara was sitting next to her like a guard dog. Kyle was taking pictures. I approached timidly. "Ashley, congratulations. Can I see him?" She looked up with those cold eyes. "You can look at him from there." She didn't offer him to me. She didn't let me hold him. She only allowed me to look at him from afar, as if I were an unwanted visitor. The baby was beautiful, tiny, eyes closed, oblivious to all this toxicity. "His name is Noah," Ashley said. No one had consulted me about the name. They hadn't even told me. "It's a beautiful name," I said with a cracked voice. Ashley smiled smugly. "When we are all living together, you'll be able to help with him. That will be your function, Linda, helping, because you're going to have to earn the privilege of being his grandmother." Every word was calculated to hurt me, to remind me of my place in this new hierarchy she had established. Barbara laughed. "Of course, Linda is going to be very useful. All grandmothers want to help, right? Changing diapers, washing clothes, cooking. That's what they're for." They treated me like a servant, like a resource to exploit. Not like family, not like the grandmother, like a free service they deserved. I left that room with my soul destroyed. I went back to my empty apartment and cried until I fell asleep. The next day, Liam called me. "Mom, Ashley gets out of the hospital the day after tomorrow. We're going to go straight to your house. We need you to have everything ready." It wasn't a request. It was an order. "Everything ready? What does that mean?" I asked, although I already knew the answer. "The room for the baby, the furniture they asked you for, space in the closets, food prepared. Ashley is going to need absolute rest. You are going to have to take care of everything." "Liam, I never agreed for you to come live here," I said with what little firmness I had left. There was a heavy silence. Then his voice sounded hard, cold. "Mom, Ashley and my son leave the hospital in 2 days. We have nowhere else to go. You have 3 empty bedrooms. Are you really going to leave your grandson homeless? Is that who you are? So selfish." Every question was a slap in the face. He was manipulating me, emotionally blackmailing me. And I knew it, but I also knew that if I said no, I would lose them forever. "Let me talk to them before you come." I tried to negotiate, set some ground rules. Liam interrupted me. "There are no rules. Mom, he is my son, my family. We decide how we live. You just have to accept it or stay alone forever." And he hung up. He left me there, phone in hand, feeling like I had just lost my son completely. I didn't sleep that night. I spent it walking around my apartment, touching my things, my memories, knowing that everything was about to be destroyed. I thought about calling a lawyer, changing the locks, refusing flat out. But every time I got close to that decision, I saw Noah's little face, and I crumbled. He was my grandson, my blood. How was I going to leave him homeless? The next morning, Kyle arrived with 2 friends and a van. "We came to move your stuff out of the master bedroom," he said, entering without permission. "What? No!" I yelled, stepping in the way. Kyle pushed me aside, not with brutal force, but with enough firmness to show me that I didn't matter. "Ashley sent me. The baby needs that room. You move to the back room, now." His friends started taking my things out. My clothes, my drawers, my photographs. They threw everything into boxes without care. I saw them take out the champagne-colored dress I wore at my wedding. They threw it on the floor. I saw my wedding photos being stacked without any care. I tried to stop them, but they were 3 young men, and I was a 65-year-old woman. I couldn't do anything but watch as they destroyed my sanctuary. In 2 hours, they completely emptied my room. They shoved all my things into the small back room, a space of barely 10 square feet that I had used as storage. My belongings of a lifetime piled in boxes, without order, without respect. Kyle left without saying goodbye, leaving me standing there amidst the chaos. I went into my old room. It was empty, bare. It wasn't mine anymore. I sat on the floor, and something inside me broke, but something also woke up. That afternoon, I went to the bank. I withdrew all my savings and put them in a new account that only I could touch. $9,000 I had saved over years. I wasn't going to let them take that too. Then I went to a lawyer. I told him everything. He listened with a furrowed brow. "Mrs. Linda, legally this is your apartment. You can kick them out whenever you want, but if you allow them to establish residency, the process gets complicated." "How long do they have to stay to establish residency?" I asked. 30 days, in most cases. After that, you would need a formal eviction process that can take months. I felt panic. "So, what do I do?" The lawyer looked at me seriously. "Don't let them in, or if they enter, do not allow 30 days to pass. You have to act fast if you want to maintain control of your property." I left that office with a clarity I hadn't had in months. I had 2 days before they arrived. 2 days to decide if I was going to defend myself or surrender completely. I barely slept that night. I thought about my late husband, about everything we had sacrificed for this place. I thought about my trampled dignity, my lost son. And I thought that maybe, just maybe, not knowing my grandson was better than losing my soul. The next day, the doorbell rang. I opened it, and it was Liam. Behind him was a van full of boxes and furniture. "Hi, Mom," Liam said without smiling. "We came to bring the stuff. Ashley gets out of the hospital tomorrow early, and we want to have everything set up." I looked at the van filled to the brim. Boxes, a disassembled crib, bags, suitcases, furniture. It was a complete move. "Liam, we need to talk before." He interrupted me. "There is nothing to talk about, Mom. It's already decided." And he started unloading things with Kyle and 2 other men I didn't know. I watched them go in and out of my apartment like ants, filling my space with their belongings. They took everything directly to what had been my room. They set up the crib, a huge dresser, boxes of diapers, toys, clothes. They transformed my sanctuary into a nursery in less than 3 hours. I was standing in the living room, paralyzed, watching my life being systematically erased. Barbara arrived later with more things. She didn't even say hello to me. She went straight to inspecting. "This looks good," she said, nodding. "Although, Linda, you need to buy an air purifier. The air in here is very stale. And these curtains are horrible. They let in too much light. The baby needs darkness to sleep well." She took out her cell phone and started taking notes of everything I had to buy, change, improve. As if I were her employee. Kyle settled on the couch with a beer. "I'm going to stay a few weeks too," he announced. "Ashley is going to need help, and Liam has to work, so I'm going to be here to support." My heart sank. Not only were there going to be 3 of them, there were going to be 4 people invading my home. "Where are you going to sleep?" I asked with a trembling voice. Kyle pointed to the guest room. "There. Obviously." "That is my guest room," I said weakly. Kyle laughed. "Well, now I'm your guest. Relax. Linda, don't be so territorial." That word again. Territorial. As if defending my space were a character flaw. As if wanting privacy in my own house were unforgivable selfishness. Liam said nothing. He just kept organizing things in the room that was no longer mine. That night we all ate dinner together, although I could barely taste a bite. Barbara criticized my food. "This is too salty." "Linda, when Ashley is breastfeeding, you're going to have to cook healthier. No salt, no strong spices." Kyle ate like there was no tomorrow, belching loudly and leaving his dirty plate on the table for me to pick up. Liam checked his cell phone, oblivious to my suffering. I felt like a ghost at my own table. After dinner, Barbara handed me a list. "This is what you need to buy tomorrow before Ashley arrives from the hospital." I read the list feeling nauseous. Diapers for $200, special formula for $150, sensitive wipes, creams, medications, a humidifier for $300, special bedding. The total exceeded $1,000. "Barbara, I don't have all that money, I said with a cracked voice. She looked at me with contempt. Linda, you are the grandmother. This is your responsibility. Besides, you live alone in a huge apartment without paying rent. It's the least you can do. Her words left me breathless. Without paying rent? It was my apartment. I paid for it for 30 years. But in this woman's twisted mind, I lived for free and owed them everything. Liam continued to say nothing, validating every abuse with his silence. That night, lying in my new tiny room, I heard Kyle snoring in the guest room and Liam talking on the phone with Ashley in what had been my room. Yes, babe. Everything is ready. Tomorrow you come straight here. My mom already understands how things are going to be. I already understood? No one had explained anything to me. They had just imposed a crushing reality on me. The next morning I went out early to buy everything on the list. I spent $1,200 on my credit card. Money I didn't have, that I would have to pay back with interest. When I returned with the bags, I found Kyle eating breakfast calmly. He had used all the eggs, all the milk, all the bread. Oh, you should buy more food, he told me with his mouth full. There are more of us now. I put everything away in the baby's room while Barbara supervised every move. This goes here, this goes there. No, not like that. Do it right, Linda. She treated me like an incompetent servant. Every order was one more humiliation. Liam arrived early from work. Ashley gets out of the hospital in 2 hours. I'm going to get her. And he left, leaving me alone with Barbara and Kyle. We need to establish rules, said Barbara, sitting on my sofa like a queen on her throne. Ashley is going to need absolute silence. No loud TV. No noises. You're going to have to cook 3 times a day. Special food for breastfeeding. You're going to wash all the baby's clothes by hand with special soap. And, obviously, you're going to help with diaper changes and night feedings. She was assigning me the role of unpaid domestic servant. Barbara, I work too, I said. I worked part-time cleaning an office to supplement my miserable pension. She looked at me surprised. Well, you're going to have to quit. Your grandson is more important than a trivial little job. Besides, why do you need money if you live here with no expenses? No expenses. I paid electricity, water, gas, internet, property taxes. But in her twisted mind, I lived like a parasite in my own house. 2 hours later, I heard the door open. It was Liam with Ashley and the baby. Ashley walked in slowly, pale, with Noah in her arms. Behind came Liam carrying more suitcases. We're here, announced Ashley with that victorious smile. This is our new home. Our home. Not my home. Ours. The invasion had been completed. Ashley went straight to the master bedroom and lay down on the bed that Kyle and his friends had installed there. My bed had been thrown in the trash without asking me. Now there was a new bed. New sheets, everything new. Everything theirs. Barbara entered behind Ashley, closing the door. She needs to rest. Do not disturb. I, in my own house, received the order not to disturb. Kyle turned up the volume on the TV. Hey, turn it down, I asked him. The baby needs to sleep. He ignored me completely. Liam was in the kitchen making himself food without offering me any. I was invisible, a ghost floating in what was once my sanctuary. I sat in a dining chair, watching how these strangers had taken absolute control of every corner of my life. That night, at 2 a.m, Noah started to cry. I heard Ashley screaming, "Linda! Linda, come here!" I ran out of my tiny room, tripping over the boxes I still hadn't unpacked. I entered the room. Ashley was in bed, with the baby crying. Change him. He has a dirty diaper and I'm exhausted. She handed me the baby as if he were an annoying package. I changed him with trembling hands. My grandson was beautiful, but holding him like that, in these circumstances, felt bitter. When I finished, Ashley grabbed him without saying thank you. Now you can go. She kicked me out of what had been my room. I went back to my little room and sat on the bed, shaking. This was going to be my life. Serving without gratitude, obeying without a voice, existing without dignity. The next 2 days were hell. Ashley called me at all hours, to change diapers, to warm bottles, to wash clothes, to cook, to clean. Barbara arrived early and left late, always criticizing, always demanding. Kyle ate everything I bought and left messes everywhere. Liam worked long hours, avoiding being at home, avoiding seeing what his family was doing to his mother. I slept 3 hours a night. I had lost 10 pounds. I had deep circles under my eyes. My whole body hurt. But nobody asked how I was. Nobody thanked me. They just used me and discarded me over and over again. On the afternoon of the third day, exhausted, I sat in the kitchen to drink tea. Ashley came out of the room furious. "Why haven't you washed the baby's clothes?" "I asked you 2 hours ago." "Ashley, I was resting for a moment," I said with a tired voice. She exploded. "You don't have the right to rest. I just had a baby and I'm doing everything while you sit here." Doing everything, I repeated, feeling something break inside me. "Ashley, I have slept 9 hours in 3 days. I have cooked all the meals, washed all the clothes, changed diapers, cleaned every mess that you and your family leave. And you say you are doing everything." She looked at me with wild eyes, as if I had committed a crime by contradicting her. "How dare you? I just gave birth. Everything you do is your obligation as a grandmother." Barbara entered at that moment. "What's going on here?" Ashley pointed at me accusingly. "Your mother-in-law is refusing to help. She says she's tired." Barbara looked at me with absolute contempt. "Linda, how shameful. A real grandmother would be happy to help. But you only think about yourself. You have always been like that, selfish and territorial." Kyle came out of his room. "What is all this racket?" "I was sleeping." "Your sister just gave birth, and this woman refuses to help her," said Barbara with exaggerated drama. Kyle looked at me with mockery. "Wow, Linda, how low can you go? 3 against 1, everyone attacking me in my own house for daring to say I was tired." I felt tears threatening to come out, but I refused to cry in front of them. "I haven't refused anything. I just said I needed to rest for a moment." Ashley crossed her arms. "Well, you can't. The baby is the priority. Your rest doesn't matter." Her words floated in the air like poison. "My rest doesn't matter. My health doesn't matter. I don't matter. I only exist to serve, to be used, to be destroyed by their infinite demands." Liam arrived at that moment from work. "What's wrong?" Ashley ran to him dramatically. "Your mother is refusing to help me. She's leaving me alone with everything." Liam looked at me with that disappointment I already knew too well. "Mom, seriously? Ashley just got out of the hospital. Can't you be more understanding?" Something inside me burst. "Understanding? Liam, look at me. I'm exhausted. I haven't slept. I haven't rested. I have done everything you've asked and more. And this is how you treat me." My voice broke, but I continued. "This is my house. I let you in out of love, for family, and you treat me worse than an employee." Liam approached with a hard expression. "Mom, if you don't want us here, just say it. We'll leave and you will never see your grandson again." The threat floated between us like a bomb. Ashley smiled behind him. She knew exactly what Liam was doing. Pure emotional blackmail. Either I submitted completely or I lost my family forever. Barbara added with venom. "Yes, Linda. If we are such a bother to you, just say it. We'll take the baby and you'll never have to worry about being a grandmother again." Kyle laughed. "I bet in a week she's begging us to come back. Old hags always regret it." His words went right through me. They saw me as a resource to exploit, not as a human being with needs and boundaries. I looked at Liam, looking for some trace of the son I raised, of the kind boy he had been. But that boy had died. In front of me was a stranger controlled by his manipulative wife. "You aren't leaving me a choice," I said with a trembling voice. Liam sighed. "You're always the victim, right, Mom? You can never simply do something out of love without complaining." His words were the straw that broke the camel's back. But I didn't explode. I didn't yell. Something cold and calculating took control of me. "You're right," I said with a calm that surprised even myself. "I'm being selfish. Let me rest tonight and tomorrow everything will be different. I promise." Ashley seemed satisfied. "That's how I like it. We need you to understand your place here, Linda." "My place. In my own house." I nodded submissively and went to my tiny room. I heard them celebrating their victory in the living room. Laughter, jokes, talking about how they had finally put me in my place. I waited until everyone was asleep. It was 11 at night. I took out my cell phone and called the lawyer I had visited days before. "Mr. Henderson, "This is Linda. I need your help urgently," I whispered. He listened while I told him everything that had happened in the last 3 days. "Mrs. Linda, legally they have not yet established residency. They have only been there 3 days. You have every right to kick them out tomorrow if you decide so." My heart beat strongly. What if they refuse to leave? The lawyer was clear. "Call the police. I will prepare documentation for you tonight, proving it is your property. Property deeds, utility bills, everything in your name. You will have them tomorrow first thing." I hung up and sat in the dark. For the first time in months, I felt something like hope. I checked my bank account. The $9,000 were still there, safe in the account only I controlled. I searched the internet for emergency locksmiths. I found one that operated 24 hours. I sent a message asking how much it would cost to change all the locks on an apartment. $350, immediate service, they replied. I booked the service for the next day at 2 in the afternoon. I didn't sleep that night. I spent it planning every detail. At 6 in the morning, I heard Noah crying. Ashley yelled, "Linda, the baby!" I didn't move. She yelled louder. "Linda, come here now." I kept not moving. After 10 minutes, I heard Ashley get up cursing and attend to the baby herself. I came out of my room at 7. Liam was getting ready to go to work. He looked at me surprised. "I thought you'd be helping with Noah." "I was resting, like you said I should do," I replied calmly. He frowned, confused by my tone, but said nothing. He went to work, leaving me with Ashley, Barbara, who had just arrived, Kyle, and the baby. Ashley came out of the room with dark circles under her eyes. "Why didn't you come when I called you?" Her tone was threatening. "I needed to rest. You said yourself yesterday that today everything would be different, and it will be." Barbara looked at me with suspicion. "What does that mean?" I smiled with fake sweetness. "It means I understood my place. Now, do you want breakfast?" I prepared a hearty breakfast: eggs, toast, fruit, coffee. I served it all with a smile. Ashley and Barbara exchanged satisfied looks. They thought they had broken me completely. Kyle ate without saying thank you, as always. I cleaned the kitchen quietly, waiting. At 10 in the morning, the lawyer arrived. I rang the buzzer from inside so Ashley would open the door. "Good morning. I'm looking for Mrs. Linda," said Mr. Henderson. Ashley looked at him confused. "What for?" I came out of the kitchen. "He is my lawyer. Come in, please." Ashley's face went pale. Barbara stood up, alarmed. "Your lawyer? What do you need a lawyer for?" Mr. Henderson walked in with his briefcase. He was a man of about 50, serious, professional. "Mrs. Linda, here are all the documents you asked for." He took out folders with deeds, electricity and water bills, the latest bank statement showing the apartment was completely paid off and in my name. Everything perfectly organized. Ashley tried to approach. "What is all this?" The lawyer ignored her and spoke directly to me. "Shall I proceed with the eviction notices?" "Yes, please," I said with a firm voice. Kyle had come out of his room. "What is going on here?" Mr. Henderson took out 3 envelopes. Eviction notices. "This apartment belongs solely and exclusively to Mrs. Linda Mendez. You have been residing here without a lease agreement and without her explicit consent. You have 24 hours to vacate the premises." The silence that followed was deathly. Ashley was the first to react. "What? You can't do this. We just arrived. I have a newborn baby." Her voice went up several octaves. Barbara approached threateningly. "Linda, have you gone crazy? It's your grandson, your own blood." Kyle simply looked at me with pure hate. I stood firm, with the lawyer by my side. "This apartment is mine. I paid for it with 30 years of work. You entered without my true consent, using manipulation and emotional blackmail." Ashley let out a hysterical laugh. "Without your consent? Liam is your son. He has a right to be here." The lawyer intervened with a cold, professional voice. "Legally? No. This property is registered solely in the name of Mrs. Linda Mendez. Her adult son has no legal right over this property. You are illegal occupants." Barbara pointed at the baby Ashley was holding. "You are going to kick a 3-day-old baby out onto the street. What kind of monster are you?" Her words tried to hurt me, make me feel guilty, but something had changed in me. You decided to come here without really asking me. You manipulated me. You blackmailed me. You took my bedroom. You treated me like a servant in my own house. This isn't my fault. It is a consequence of your actions. My voice was firm, without trembling. Months of abuse had forged something hard inside me. Ashley took a step toward me with threatening eyes. Liam isn't going to allow this. When he finds out, he is going to hate you forever. Maybe, I replied, feeling a stab of pain. But I prefer him hating me while I own my life than having him close while destroying it. Kyle took out his cell phone. I'm going to call Liam right now. You're going to see what's coming to you, stupid old woman. He dialed while looking at me with malicious satisfaction. He waited. The call didn't go through. He tried again. Nothing. I saw the confusion on his face. What's wrong? Asked Ashley. Kyle checked his phone. I don't have a signal. That's weird. I knew exactly what was happening. That morning I had called the internet company and changed the Wi-Fi password. Without Wi-Fi, and with my apartment being on a second floor with bad mobile data signal, their cell phones were useless. The lawyer continued with a neutral tone. You have 24 hours. If you do not vacate voluntarily, we will proceed with police presence. Barbara tried another tactic. She approached with a pleading expression. Linda, please, think of the baby. Do you really want your grandson to remember you as the cruel grandmother who kicked them out? I want him to grow up knowing that his grandmother respected herself. That no one has the right to trample on your dignity, not even family. My words came out with a clarity that surprised me. Barbara switched immediately to fury. You are selfish. A bitter, lonely old woman. That's why your husband died, to escape from you. Her words sought to destroy me, but they no longer had power. I had heard poison for months. I was already immunized. Mr. Henderson put away his documents. Mrs. Linda, do you need anything else from me right now? I shook my head. Not for the moment. Thank you. He said goodbye professionally and left. Ashley ran to the door trying to lock it, but I had already removed the key from the lock that morning. We aren't going to leave. This house has 3 rooms that are wasted on a lonely old woman. Her mask of a sweet woman had fallen completely. Now only the real Ashley remained. Manipulative, selfish, cruel. Then I'll call the police, I said, taking out my cell phone. Kyle tried to snatch it from me, but I was faster. I dialed 911. Ashley screamed, "Don't you dare." But I was already talking. Hello, I need help. There are people in my apartment who refuse to leave. Yes, I have documents proving it is my property. They are occupying it illegally. I gave my address. Thank you. I'll wait for you. I hung up and saw the panic on their faces. Barbara recovered her composure first. Fine, we'll leave. But prepare for the consequences. Linda, Liam will never forgive you. Your grandson will grow up without knowing you. You will die alone and abandoned in this empty apartment. She was trying to plant seeds of fear, of future regret. But I had already made peace with that possibility during the sleepless night. Maybe you're right, but at least I will die with dignity. Ashley started to cry, real tears this time, not from manipulation but from helpless rage. It's not fair. We need this space. You are alone here wasting it. Kyle added, our apartment is a shoebox, barely $1,200 a month for 400 square feet. You old people have all the property and we can't get anything. There was the truth. It wasn't about family, it was about greed, about feeling entitled to what I had worked for all my life because they didn't want to put in the effort. Then work harder, I said simply. Like I worked 30 years in factories and cleaning offices, 2 jobs simultaneously for 15 years. That is the price I paid for this place. What have you sacrificed? Silence was my answer. Ashley finally spoke with venom. I'm going to tell the whole family what you did. No one is going to talk to you again. They are going to hate you. I nodded. Probably. But I have something that will show the truth. I took out my cell phone and opened the recordings folder. During the last 3 days, I had been audio recording every interaction, every insult, every abusive order. I had hours of evidence. I have proof of everything. Every time you called me selfish for asking to rest. Every time you treated me like a servant. Every conversation where you planned to keep my apartment. Barbara's face fell apart. Ashley opened her mouth, but no sound came out. Kyle simply cursed under his breath. So go ahead, continue. Tell your version. I will show mine, and let the family decide. Barbara regained some composure. Anyway, Liam is on our side. He will never believe you over Ashley. Maybe she was right, but at least I would have tried to show the truth. At that moment, we heard sirens outside. The police had arrived. Ashley panicked. No, wait. We'll leave. Don't call the police. But it was too late. They rang the doorbell. I opened the door. 2 officers, a man and a woman, entered professionally. Mrs. Linda Mendes? I nodded. Yes, that's me. These people are on my property without my consent and refuse to leave. The female officer looked at Ashley with the baby, at Barbara, at Kyle. Do you have any lease agreement or document that allows you to be here? Ashley tried to use the baby. I just got out of the hospital. She is the grandmother. She is kicking us out onto the street with a newborn. The male officer remained professional. Do you have legal documentation to be here? Barbara tried to intimidate. It's her son, her family. What kind of police help destroy a family? The officer took out her notebook. Ma'am, the law makes no exceptions for family relationships. If you have no legal right to be here, you are trespassing on private property. She checked the documents I had prepared with the lawyer. Clean deeds. Everything in my name. Utility bills. Everything flawless. You have 2 options, said the officer. You leave voluntarily now, or we remove you, and you get a police record that can affect future rentals or jobs. The threat was clear. Kyle started packing his things furiously. Barbara helped Ashley gather the baby's things. The whole process was tense, full of looks of hate, whispers, curses. I stood firm next to the officers, finally feeling that I was regaining control of my life. Ashley put baby clothes in bags while crying. The baby started crying too, feeling the tension. A part of me wanted to give in hearing my grandson's cry. But I remembered the lawyer's words. If they establish residency, it will take months to get them out, and they will destroy you in the process. This wasn't cruelty, it was survival. Liam arrived at that moment. He saw the scene and stood paralyzed. What is going on here? Ashley ran to him dramatically. Your mother called the police. She is kicking us out. Me and your son. Liam looked at me with a mixture of shock, pain, and rage that pierced my heart. Mom, what did you do? His voice trembled. I took a step forward. I took back my house, Liam, and my dignity. He shook his head in disbelief. You are kicking out your grandson, your own family. You all decided that when you treated me like a servant, when you took my bedroom without permission. Liam looked at me as if I were a stranger. I don't recognize you. What happened to you? His voice was loaded with disappointment and rage. Something broke in my chest, but I remained firm. What happened to me is that I stopped allowing you to trample on me. What happened to me is that I remembered that I paid for this apartment, that my life belongs to me. That love doesn't mean erasing yourself completely. I took out my cell phone and showed him the recordings folder. Here is everything. Every insult, every humiliation. 3 days of audio where your wife, your mother-in-law, and your brother-in-law treated me like trash. Liam didn't even look at the phone. Ashley grabbed his arm. Don't believe anything she says. She's lying. We just wanted to be close, be a family. But her voice sounded desperate, fake. Liam seemed confused, divided between the woman he loved and the mother who had raised him. Barbara intervened with venom. Liam, your mother was always selfish. That's why your father died young, from the stress of living with her. That lie was too much. My husband died of a heart attack working 12 hours a day to support us. I exploded. He died because the healthcare system failed us. Don't you dare use his memory to manipulate my son. The officers intervened. Ladies, gentlemen, we need to resolve this now. Are you going to leave voluntarily or not? Kyle already had his suitcases at the door. Ashley kept crying, but started packing with abrupt and angry movements. Barbara glared, but helped carry things. Liam finally spoke with a cold voice. Fine, Mom, we'll leave. But this doesn't end here. It wasn't a promise. It was a threat. Ashley approached me with the baby in her arms. Look at him well, Linda, because it is the last time you will see him. I'm going to make sure Noah grows up without knowing who you are. I'll tell him his grandmother died. To us, You are dead." Her words sought to destroy me, leave me with a wound that would never heal. But I took a deep breath and responded. "Then when he grows up and asks about me, you show him these recordings. And let him decide who lied and who protected herself." Ashley had no answer. She just turned her back on me and walked out with the baby. Barbara followed her, casting me one last look full of hate. "You are going to die alone, Linda, and no one will go to your funeral." Kyle simply spit on the floor before leaving. The officers reprimanded him, but he was already outside. Liam was the last one. He stood on the threshold of what had been his childhood home. "I spent 30 years raising you," I told him with tears finally falling. "I worked until I destroyed my health to give you an education, food, a future. And in 3 months your wife erased all that. You became someone I don't recognize." He clenched his jaw. "I stopped recognizing you too. The mother I knew would never have done this." He turned around and went down the stairs without looking back. The officers stayed a few minutes more. "Are you okay, ma'am?" asked the female officer with genuine concern. I nodded even though I was shaking. "I'll be fine." She handed me a card. "If they return or harass you, call us immediately. And consider getting a restraining order." I thanked them and closed the door when they left. The silence that followed was deafening. I looked at my apartment. It was a mess. Boxes everywhere with things they had left in the rush. The room that had been mine still had the crib set up. Baby clothes thrown on the floor. Dirty dishes in the kitchen. But it was my mess. In my space. Without anyone yelling at me. Without anyone demanding anything from me. Without anyone trampling on me. I let myself fall onto the sofa and cried. I cried for my lost son. For my grandson I might never know. For the family I had dreamed of and that never really existed. But amidst the tears I also felt something else. Relief. Liberation. For the first time in months I could breathe without feeling a crushing weight on my chest. That afternoon my sister called. I told her everything. She cried with me over the phone. "You did the right thing, Linda. It was hard, but right." Her words gave me a little peace. The next morning the locksmith arrived as I had scheduled. He changed all the locks, $350 that I paid with a smile. Every new lock was a symbol of my regained freedom. I spent the next 3 days cleaning. I took out everything they had left and packed it carefully. Nothing valuable, but I kept it anyway. If they ever wanted to retrieve it, they could ask civilly. I disassembled the crib and stored it in the building's basement. I returned my room to how it was. I placed my furniture, my photographs, my clothes. I reclaimed my sacred space. Every object returning to its place was a piece of myself that I recovered. Liam tried to call me during those days. I didn't answer. He sent me messages. "Mom, we need to talk. This is crazy." "Ashley is devastated." I didn't answer any of them. I needed silence. I needed to heal. A week later, my brother-in-law Mike called me. "Linda, Liam told me what happened. I need to hear your side." I sent him the recordings. 3 hours of audio where the truth was clear. He listened to them and called me back. My God, Linda, I had no idea. Liam had told me a completely different story. "What did he tell you?" I asked. Mike sighed. "That you had become paranoid, that you kicked them out for no reason, that you invented everything. But these recordings," he paused. "This is abuse, Linda. What they did to you is abuse." Hearing him validate my experience made something loosen in my chest. I wasn't crazy. I hadn't exaggerated. I had been a victim and I had found the courage to defend myself. "Will you tell Liam?" I asked. "Yes," he replied. "And I'm going to have a very serious conversation with him about his job too." Apparently, Ashley had been pressuring Liam to ask Mike for a raise. She wanted more money to be able to rent a bigger place. But Liam hadn't been performing well at work. He was arriving late, distracted. Mike had been considering firing him. But I'm going to give him one more chance. He's my nephew. But he needs to wake up and see who his wife really is. I thanked him for his support and hung up feeling a little less alone. 2 weeks later, I received a certified letter. It was from a lawyer representing Ashley and Liam. They were demanding visitation rights for me with my grandson, arguing that I was mentally unstable and needed supervision to be near the baby. The letter also threatened a lawsuit for emotional distress caused by the illegal eviction. I called Mr. Henderson immediately. He read the letter and laughed. This has no legal basis. Grandparents don't have automatic visitation rights, and the eviction was completely legal. They are trying to intimidate you. What do I do? I asked. Nothing, he replied. Ignore it. If they actually file a lawsuit, which I doubt because they have no case, I will represent you. But this is just a scare tactic. I kept the letter as one more piece of evidence of the harassment. A month passed. Then 2. My life began to normalize. I returned to my routine, my cleaning job, my morning walks, my TV shows without anyone yelling at me about the volume. I started taking painting classes at the community center. I met other women my age with similar stories. I wasn't alone in my experience. One Saturday afternoon, 3 months after everything, someone knocked on my door. I looked through the peephole and saw Liam, alone, without Ashley, without Barbara, without Kyle. I hesitated. Part of me wanted to open, hug him, forgive everything. But another part, the part that had learned to protect itself, remained cautious. What do you want, Liam? I asked through the door. Mom, please. I need to talk to you. Just me, without Ashley. I opened the door, but I left the security chain on. I looked at him through the crack. He looked terrible. Deep dark circles, unkempt beard, wrinkled clothes. Can I come in? He asked. I hesitated, but finally opened. He entered slowly, looking at the apartment as if it were the first time. It looks good, clean, quiet. He sat on the sofa without my inviting him. Ashley left me, he blurted out suddenly. I stayed silent, processing. When? I finally asked. 2 weeks ago. She met someone with more money. A guy who has his own house, a nice car. I saw tears in his eyes. She says I'm not man enough to support her like she deserves. I felt a mixture of sadness for my son and dark satisfaction that he had finally seen the truth. I'm sorry, I said, and I meant it. Mom, you were right, about everything. His voice broke. Uncle Mike showed me the recordings. I heard how they treated you, how I spoke to you. Tears were falling freely now. I lost my wife. I lost my son. I almost lost my job. And I lost my mother. All because I was a blind idiot. I wanted to comfort him, but I also needed to protect myself. Why did you come, Liam? He looked at me with pleading eyes. Because I have nowhere to go. The apartment we were renting with Ashley belonged to her cousin. He kicked me out. I don't have money for a deposit on another place. And I need you, Mom. There it was. The real reason. He wasn't coming back repentant for having hurt me. He was coming because he needed me. You can't stay here, Liam, I said with a firmness that surprised me. What? He asked incredulously. I am your son. I nodded. Yes, and I am your mother. A mother you respect or you don't have. I am not going to be your emergency resource again. I am not going to open my door just so you can trample on me again. But Ashley left. She isn't here anymore, he protested. Exactly, I replied. You only came back when it was convenient for you, not because you truly valued our relationship. Liam stood up frustrated. So, what am I supposed to do? Sleep on the street? I took a deep breath. Uncle Mike said he would give you another chance at work. Work hard, save, rent a room, rebuild your life, but not on my back. I can't believe you are so cruel, he said bitterly. It isn't cruelty, Liam. It's self-love. Something I should have taught you better. I approached and put my hand on his shoulder. When you are ready for a real relationship, of mutual respect, my door will be open, but not as an emergency shelter. As true family. He pushed my hand away. Someday you will regret this. Maybe, but that day isn't today. Liam left slamming the door. I watched him from my window walking down the street with his shoulders slumped. I felt pain, but also peace. I had set a boundary. I had chosen my dignity over the comfort of pretending everything was okay. That night, I slept deeply for the first time in months. I dreamed of my husband. In the dream, he smiled at me and said, I'm proud of you. 3 more months passed. Liam didn't contact me again. I knew from Uncle Mike that he was living with a coworker, paying rent, working better. Ashley had returned briefly asking for money, But Liam had finally told her no. Small steps. One afternoon, I received a text message. Mom, I started therapy. My therapist says I need to work on myself before I can repair other relationships. Just wanted you to know I'm trying to be better. I replied, I'm glad, son. When you are ready, I will be here. It wasn't reconciliation. Not yet. But it was a start. I looked at my apartment, my regained space, my rebuilt life. I was 65. I had lost my son temporarily. Maybe I would never really know my grandson, but I had gained something more valuable. My dignity, my voice, my right to say no. I didn't know what the future would bring. Maybe Liam would really change. Maybe I would never have a relationship with my grandson. Maybe I would die alone as Barbara had predicted, but I would die being myself, in my space, with my peace. And that, after all, was worth more than any false harmony built on my erasure. I made some coffee, sat on my sofa, and looked out the window. The sun was setting, painting the sky orange and pink. My apartment was silent, a beautiful, chosen, dignified silence. I smiled. For the first time in years, I smiled for real, because finally I was home. My home, and no one could ever take it away from me again.